Okay, let's take a look at how we can use WaveBasis to find trade setups for new entries into a market. WaveBasis is great at finding Elliott wave patterns and at providing you with specific actionable information to identify low-risk, high-reward trading opportunities. So we're going to walk through a few typical workflows, and you can see some examples of how to find these opportunities and then act on them with confidence. There are a lot of reasons why you might be looking for a new market entry. For example, you might like to focus on a particular market and want to find an entry that you can take in the near future. You might want to add a sector like healthcare to your holdings, so you might want to look at a few markets to see if there's any setup right now for a low-risk entry. Or you might be rebalancing your portfolio. So in this first example, we're going to take a look at CGW. Earlier this year, we were interested in diversifying our portfolio into the water sector, and after some screening, we settled on CGW as a likely candidate. So here we're looking at a CGW chart with an end date back in late February, around the time we decided to look for an entry into CGW. Now, before we run our count, I want to revisit a couple of fundamentals. Firstly, trading horizon and time frame. It's important that you be aware of what your trading horizon is and then select a time frame that's relevant to that trading horizon. And also, date range is very important. So you want to make sure that you're starting from a relevant point on the chart. And a general rule of thumb is to look for a significant turning point on the chart and make sure that your count includes that turning point. Okay, so let's go ahead and run a count on CGW here and take a look and see what we get. So now that I've run my count, we've got all this information here in the next subwaves pane. And this is a whole new way to view Elliott waves, which makes it really easy to quickly assess your market context and focus in on particular high-reward trade opportunities. Each of the rows here in the next subwaves list is an incompleted wave on the chart. Those are the ones with question marks after them. And so each of these is a potential trade setup. Just by glancing at the next subwaves list, without even looking at the chart, I can tell you that we're going to head down in the short term in price before resuming these higher time frame moves up. So we can also see right away from the next subwaves list that we've got a couple of trade setups here. Here's one with 3 stars. That means it has a particularly high reward to risk ratio. And then at this degree, we have a wave that's almost confirmed. And once the wave has crossed over the confirmation level, the chances of it continuing on to hit its target are greater. And then finally, we can also see that there's another target here that's out of view of the chart. So again, just glancing at this, we see our market context and we see our potential trade setups. Here there's one with particularly high reward to risk. And finally, looking at this lowest degree, we can see that the minimum target's already been reached. That's why it's in green here. And so that gives us an indication that this wave 2 move down may have completed at this point, and we might want to be starting to look for our entry into this trade setup here. So now let's move to the chart and focus in on this setup and talk about what the different things on the screen related to the setup are. We've got first we've got this red dashed line, and this is basically the invalidation level for this trade setup. And then we've got this gray dashed line up here showing us our confirmation level, and then a target up here in the green area. So depending on your trading style and your money management rules, you may want to look at taking the trade right here. And if you did that, you might use this this level here, this red line, as your invalidation level, and maybe put a stop a little ways below that. The idea is that if we cross below this invalidation level, then this wave pattern is no longer valid. Other people like to wait until price moves up over the confirmation level, and then wait for a pullback after you've crossed over the confirmation level, and then take the trade. Again, just a matter of style, and there's different ways to use this information. But so let's just look at what we actually have. Let's say we wanted to take the trade from right here. We'd be entering at 26.20, and if we decided to use the invalidation level as as a rough guideline for our stop, maybe place our stop a little ways below there, then we're risking about potentially 25 cents from 26.20 entry, and maybe a stop down here at 25.95, and our reward is all the way up here in this green box. So risking 25 cents for a potential reward of $2.20. Or perhaps we're waiting until we cross over the confirmation level, which increases the probability that the wave 3 is going to move through, but reduces our potential reward a little bit, and we have to maybe find some other basis for how we're setting our stop if we're entering after we've crossed over the confirmation level. Okay. So now that we've sort of gone over this setup and seen how we might find an entry based on the information we see in next subwaves, let's go ahead and move forward and see how this trade turns out. So you can see we move through the first target and then up through the second target. And again, because we were aware of that higher target, that might allow us to manage the trade a little bit differently if we want to try and hold the trade through the higher target that we're looking to attain there. Okay, so now let's take a look at another stock. We're going to look at NVIDIA, and this is something that we've been trading pretty actively this year, and WaveBasis has served us up with one potential entry after the other in this stock. So here we're taking a look from an end date back in March of this year. Let's go ahead and run our count and take a look at what we get. So again, looking to the next subwaves pane, we can see that we have again a situation where in the short term we might expect price to move down before resuming to attain these higher level targets. And again, the minimum target's been reached on the downward wave, so we might be looking to go ahead and enter. We might expect that these higher degree waves are going to resume since we've already hit our target in the lower degree wave that's moving down. And here we've got two different setups, one with 1 star and another one up above that has 2 stars and is confirmed. So we got kind of the best of the both worlds here. We've got something that's still offering a fairly high reward to risk, and it's already crossed over the confirmation level, which further increases the likelihood that we're going to follow through on this particular wave 3 impulse. So let's go ahead and take a look and see how this plays out. If we had entered the trade there and set a stop somewhere below our invalidation level, then we would have moved up to hit both of our targets. Now you'll notice here that price blows right through these two targets and keeps going. And the way we handle this is once we're in the trade, of course, we're constantly upgrading. We're constantly updating our count, and so as time's moving forward and we're in a trade, oftentimes we can see opportunities for ways to stay in the trade and attain these higher levels. And as I said earlier, this has happened for us in NVIDIA over the course of this year. We've had one opportunity after the next to enter into profitable trades using the information that we're getting from WaveBasis and the next subwaves pane. Okay, so we'll take a look at 1/3 example here. This is a little bit later on in the year, and let's go ahead and run our auto count and see what we get this time. So here we have a little bit of a different kind of a setup. First, our context is basically looking up at every time frame, and we have this one setup with 1 star, which is almost confirmed, and then we have some higher degree setups that are already confirmed. So let's go ahead again, and I'm going to just highlight each one of these so that our targets and invalidation levels show up on the chart. And once again, you have an opportunity to enter with relatively low risk at this lowest time degree, and you can potentially set your stop below the invalidation level of that lowest degree trade. And then once you're in the trade, again, depending on your money management and risk tolerance, you may be able to manage it in a way where you can go ahead and catch those higher targets as well. Okay, so here's some examples of how you can find trade setups in WaveBasis, and I encourage you to use the software and run some counts and see if you can't find similar setups for yourself in whatever market you might be interested in trading.